Hello, security pros, and good afternoon. Thank you for joining us on today's ESA webinar, End-to-End Project Management for Security Integrators. During this webinar, simPRO expert Christopher Karns will show you how to deliver your projects on time and on budget, and take the stress out of managing your projects by keeping your team on the same page, all with simPRO's cloud-based project management software. I'm Hannah Boone, ESA's Marketing and Communications Manager, and I'm excited to be leading this webinar today. Before we dive in, I'd like to provide some tips for those of you joining us on your first ESA webinar. Welcome! You'll be muted for the duration of this session, but that doesn't mean we don't want to hear from you. If a question or comment comes to mind at any point during today's session, click on the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen, and I'll ensure we save some time for your questions with our expert today. We'll also be recording this webinar, so you can rewatch the on-demand session and share it with your colleagues. Tomorrow you'll receive an email thanking you for your attendance today with the link to the recording. If your company is a member of ESA, we thank you, and we hope you're utilizing your benefits to save, expand your team, and get connected to the ESA community. If you're not yet a member of the Electronic Security Association, check us out. ESA is the largest and longest-standing association serving the pro-installed electronic security and life safety industry. Our members are integrators, dealers, monitoring centers, and even manufacturers and service providers in the space. You'd be surprised at the power of an ESA membership that it holds for your company. Get a feel for all the ESA benefits, including savings on business insurance, training, customized in-house onboarding and professional development, peer networking groups, government advocacy programs, certifications that satisfy state licensing, and in some cases are also alternatives to NICET at esaweb.org. One of our membership specialists would be happy to walk you through these benefits and the application process. We at ESA realize that your time is valuable, and we appreciate you spending some of that time with us today. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Christopher Karns, Enterprise Account Executive at simPRO. He helps security businesses streamline their operations and find solutions to increase profitability, and he has developed a deep understanding of service and project workflow best practices and is eager to provide solutions for common industry challenges. Christopher, you can take it away.
I want to tell you just briefly a little bit about simPRO, where we come from, how long we've been in the industry. So we've been in the industry for a little over 20 years at this point, getting our start in Australia and New Zealand, down there in the bottom right-hand corner, and then venturing our way to the United Kingdom. And now we've been in the United States and Canada for a little over 5 years at this point. We have about 250,000 users, and we have close to 8,000 businesses at this point that are running and using simPRO to thrive. So we know running your business can be complicated. I'm sure a lot of the people on this webinar right now are currently still using pen and paper, Excel spreadsheets, and their desk is covered in Post-it notes and reminders, right? We want to try and take all of that away from you. We want you to have one single platform where you can have all of your business within it. So whether it be customers, estimating, projects, service management, plan maintenance, scheduling, inventory, invoicing, that's going to be all simPRO. We're trying to bring everything into one platform for you and have it ran out of simPRO. But how exactly does that work? And how does that start with project management? Projects can be quite in-depth, whether it's a few weeks, a few months, or even a year-long project. How are you keeping track of where that project's at in real time, right? You know where you want to be, you know where your estimates were at, but where are your actuals? And are they in line with where they should be at that point in the project? We have Gantt charts. We keep track of your inventory and the products that you've ordered for that job. We keep track of all your hours, your labor hours worked by your men, and show you where that's stacking up versus your estimates. So we're trying to show you as you're going along how you are lining up with where you're supposed to be. When we jump into the software, I'll show you exactly how we do that. It's within a number of different ways. This is a testimonial from one of our current users, Joe with SL Security Pros. We have a full breakdown of this as well on our website. But there's a lot of things that simPRO can help you with. But when it boils down to it, we're all trying to make money, right? And so when you can manage your projects better and see where you can improve on your projects, whether it be this part of the project needs to be estimated for longer, or maybe we can improve faster. When you can really boil it down and see where that's coming from, then you can increase your margins. And on top of that, simPRO helps you collect faster, right? So when a project is over, you're not waiting 30, 60 days to get that bill. You can progress invoice with us. You can get those bills quickly and more efficiently. Money is king. So it's time to trade up. So let's get into simPRO and see exactly what we can offer. One thing I did want to touch on before we jump into projects is how we manage assets as well. So I know a lot in the security industry, you guys like to manage, hey, where and what type of security cameras do we have, or access panels? How are those managed, whether you're doing maintenance on them, planned maintenance, or just to know what type or brand that you installed in a certain particular area. So why don't we jump into that? All right, and we should be back here. So I'm jumping into our customers tab here. You can see we have Siesta University. On this front profile details tab, you can see all the pertinent details. You can have particular rates for customers as well. It can show all the history, but what I really want to show you are the assets here. So if we go into sites, which will be the different locations that this customer may have, we select a particular site. So we can go down here to the Clearwater site. We can see the pertinent information for this particular site, billing address, the location. And if we go to customer assets, we can see what we have on site for this customer. So an access panel, we can see security camera system. And all these fields that we see within here, these are all customizable fields. So whatever information you want to track within these, you can. So maybe, hey, this is when it was installed. This is the make, the model, the size, the serial number. Maybe you want to have location in here as well. Any information. We can also track your service levels for planned maintenance. So if you want to go out there, this one is every year we need to test a certain amount of things. And then every quarter we need to go out and test a couple other different things. That will all be living right here. simPRO will even give you reminders and set up these jobs for you. So all you need to do is say, yep, we see that reminder. Let's get this scheduled on the calendar. In addition to that, if I click into this, I can actually see the history. So if you have customers, or maybe you have a city or a county that needs to see these updates, this is going to show you the service history of when you've gone out here and tested these assets. So you can see the job. I can click into this and see further details. You can see the employee here that went out and tested it. That's myself. The date it was tested, whether it passed and failed, and then also the series of questions, which is like a checklist that they will have to answer on their mobile app. That technician will have to answer these questions and see whether it passed those series of questions. So all the history right here, whether it passed or failed, and the questions, and it's also stored here. Now this can be sent out to the customer. This can also be sent out to the county. It could also be accessed in a customer portal. So simPRO also has a customer portal that your customers can log into and check out their history. And any questions you have on that, we can go ahead and run through at the end as well. So now we are going to jump into a project. So how does a project look? Well, I have one prepared for us here. On the project details and summary page, on the left-hand side, you can see a couple different bar graphs. We have just showing your profit, what's been invoiced in your actual cost. In the middle here, we really have your breakdown. We have what's being broken down, your actuals, and then of course, versus your estimates. So you can see materials, you can see resources, you can see your markups. And as we scroll down, you get to see totals and then your profits and margins. You can also see the invoice of the percentage of this job that has been invoiced. If you're wondering, on the right-hand side, this is basically a timeline of what has been happening. You can scroll through this and click on the timeline. Maybe you have tasks involved, maybe materials been ordered. You can see exactly what that is. Now, before I get into how this project is broken down and how we get these numbers, I realize a lot of you have things that need to be completed for this job before you can even start the job. So what you can do is you can actually make project tasks that are only and solely associated with this project. So if I look at tasks, you can have a task template. So if you have basically the same tasks that need to be completed for every job, you can set up a template. And then when you make this job, just select that template. So here, maybe you have submittals. So underneath subject, you have a submittals, sent, filed, you need equipment, you need permits, another equipment check, schedule, materials ordered, whatever it may be, things that you need completed. You can see, you can have due dates, get these assigned to someone or different people, priority levels, status, where is this at, and then start dates. What's nice about this is you'll be able to see where these are at. You can click into them. They'll also be up here in the Gantt chart when we get to that in a little bit. So we'll stick a pin on this. This is a great way, without having to assign an actual job or something a little more in depth, to say, hey, make sure we get this done. We need to get this in, and I will track and make sure you have it done. Here's your due date. Here's your start date. Keep me updated on your progress, which they can do by percentage. Of course, any attachments that you need to have with this job can be logged right here as well. But if we look at how this job is broken down, how would we say this job is really broken down? We break it down into what we call cost centers, or you might want to call it categories of this job. So as we scroll down, we can have phase 1, we can have phase 2, or as many phases as you would like. You could also have these be named rough in or trim out. These are all optional and they can be labeled however you choose fit. But the idea here is the same. Within this phase 1, we have what we want to think of as smaller jobs, right? So we're gonna have the cable and wiring. This is gonna be one job that we set up. Commercial plugs, another job we set up. In phase 2, we have some installation, and we have the access panels. These are all broken down into smaller jobs. So let me show you what I mean by that. If we click into the cable and wiring, you're gonna see another breakdown, much of like what we saw on the last screen. So once again, here's that graph, the bar graph. Then once again, we have the breakdown of the parts that we are using. And as we scroll down, we can see the profits, the margins, and the invoice percentage. And this is on this particular part of the job, the cable and wiring. So we're able to break down this particular part of the job, and you can see as this job progresses, okay, on my cable and wiring, I'm at 20% margin, or I'm low, I'm at 5% margin. And so you know for future jobs, hey, we were low on that one last time, let's estimate that out a little bit higher, or let's make sure we improve our workflows. And this is what you're going to be setting up when you're doing your estimation. So when you're estimating out this project, you're going to add the parts and labor into this particular cable and wiring center. And you'll be saying, okay, here's the parts that we need. Let's add those in. Then of course, the labor rates, and the necessary time. So we have 50 hours allotted. And that's how you're coming up and building off of this. Now, also within these particular parts of the job, you can have tasks associated with these particular areas as well. So, when your technicians are out on the job, they can have a task that's assigned to them within this cable and wiring phase. So you can set those up right here as well. We go back to the cost centers. We can see them all here once again, and hopefully these are starting to make a little more sense as to how they're shaped. Of course, we can do change orders as those come along. We can do change orders that can tie right into this job and be billed as part of this job. We can also do linked change orders. So the linked change orders are going to be still associated with this job as far as we're concerned, but they can be billed out on a separate invoice if that's how your GC or if that's how the customer would like to see it. So either or. What I want to show you a little bit about is project overview. So as a project manager, this is where you're going to be living in. So project overview, you'll be able to see once again how this project was split up, the cable and wiring phase, commercial plugs, installation down here, and then access panel. What this allows you to do is break this down and really show you, hey, our original estimated budgets, we can see materials, resource, and hours versus our current budgets, seeing our actuals to dates. simPRO can come up with your forecast remaining and then show you your variance. So based off of all the hours that you guys are clocking and logging in on our mobile application, based off of the materials that you have ordered, we can say, hey, you're right on par here, or hey, you're under on materials, you're not going to be hitting your mark on that one. Same with hours, same with resources on each and every one of these cables and wiring, commercial and plugs. So it's really, really showing you, hey, here's where you're really being effective on this project. Here's where you're not. Now, I'm sure many of you have a project, right, that you do 5-6 times a year, or you do very, very often. And you're going to have a cable and wiring phase. You're going to have a commercial and plugs phase, installation phase. What you can do with simPRO, we have over 70 automatically generated reports that are tracking these numbers and these margins. So at the end of a year of using simPRO, you can say, okay, I would like to see my report for my projects in these cost centers, as we call them, the categories, and show me where my margins are at for the past year. And it can show you, hey, for these cable and wiring jobs, you're averaging a 22% margin. For the commercial plugs, you're up in the 40s. For the installation, you're down in 8%. So it can show you where you're really falling short throughout the year consistently on these projects as well, so you can get a better idea of what to do. Additionally, for those guys that are doing a lot of these projects consistently, a lot of these same kind of layouts, so you'd have the same layout, these same cost centers, we can do what we call basically job templates. So once you set this up one time, you can basically copy it from there, and it'll have the same materials on inside here, the same materials you saw, and just copy it, and then you can kind of edit from there. You know what, this job we need a little bit more, this job we need a little bit less. But instead of going through and basically working up this entire estimate from scratch, you can copy this one and then go from there. So save you a lot of time. Back to project overview. The same overview you can look at from a material standpoint. So if you look at the left-hand side of my screen here, you can see everything that simPRO manages. We manages all your customers, which we consider people, leads, quotes or estimates, your jobs, whether it's service, maintenance, projects, scheduling those jobs, dispatching those jobs, ordering materials for those jobs, and then invoicing through simPRO as well. So ordering materials, how does that look for a project? So if we click on once again, we're breaking it down by that kind of category, right? So cable and wiring, what do we need? Well, required. We need 2 of these, 5 of these. Actuals, what do we have? 0. And you can see it in red here, 0, 0, 0 down across the line. So we know we need all these materials. As we scroll down, we can see commercial plugs. We need 5 of these, 25 of these, and we have them. We're all in the green here, so we are good to go. And it'll show you what you have allocated to this project already ordered. So what we do in this instance, we could simply check mark cable and wiring. We could scroll down and we could say create vendor purchase order. Now, if we're estimating this project, we could say create vendor quote, and we could send a quote out to a bunch of different vendors and see what kind of pricing they come back to us. So it's one way of doing it as well as we're estimating this project out and getting our pricing. But you would send a purchase order right here directly through simPRO. You can also monitor that order, right? So as it's coming through, we can say, let's go to our orders. Let's see what we have coming in. Let's see what we've ordered and let's see what we've received. So we can see right here, pending order. We have this order to Granger, when it was ordered, where it's at, the cost. We can click in on this and see exactly the materials as well. Below here, we can see what we've received and where that's at as well. So just a quick update if you want to see what's going on with that. Any contractor jobs, if you're doing subcontracting, those will be sent out through here as well, and you can manage those through here and within our contractor portal. Any invoices. So simPRO does do progress invoicing. So you can basically see what you've sent out, what's been paid. So we have $14,000 that's been paid, $29,000. We can click into this, see the invoice. You can see the date it was paid here as well. And then just to simply make another progress invoice, we would do save and finish. simPRO does prepare your schedule of values for you for the AIA billing portion. So our invoicing is quite in tune with what you guys are looking for. And that can all be looked at here and managed here. Now, I do want to point out that simPRO is very permissions based. So certain things maybe you don't want maybe employees being able to access or look at, you can simply turn that feature off and they will not be able to see it. Last thing I want to show you is that Gantt chart. So I told you guys to put a pin on those tasks so we can come back to it later. And here you can see those tasks, right? So project, overall project tasks. You can see the start date, the end date, who it was assigned to if you want to click on that and hover over it. And you can see the progress, right? So who's updating this progress? Well, it's that person that the task was assigned to. And when you're assigned a task in simPRO, you're going to get a pop-up on your bar in simPRO. It's going to say, hey, a new task was assigned to you. You can click on it to look at it. And as you can see here, you can then show how much progress you've made on it. So you can see 35% here. This is just telling you a little bit more about it, who it's assigned to. 100% here, 55% here, 40% here. So you can really see where these tasks are at and who needs to step it into the next gear. Another nice thing about those tasks, you can set up what we call stakeholders. So let's say you had this task right here at the top one that was supposed to be due, it looks like today, and it's not done. You can have yourself get a text message or an email or some sort of reminder yourself, or maybe even a manager above you saying, hey, this task was not done. We need to, give this person a call. We need to really light a fire in them to see what's going on because we need this so we can continue on with the project. So tasks are really invaluable, and this shows you a nice visual display of where you're at with them. And these are the general project tasks, right? So things that you need done in general. But here we also have those phases. So phase 1, where are we at? The cable and wiring, we're at 25%, and we haven't even gotten to the start date of that, so that's pretty good. And then here are those individual tasks associated with that. So we can see where those are at. As we scroll down, we can look at the rest of them. Phase 2, the commercial plugs, we're at 45%. So we can really see where a lot of these tasks are at and where these overall phases and these overall categories of the jobs are at a quick glance. Of course, this can be downloaded. You can send this off to different people. So if you have someone asking for progress in a visual manner like this, you can also show it to them there. And if we just head back to project as well, and we can show this as well at the end. So that is projects in a nutshell. I'm sure there'll be some questions. There's a lot more that we can dig through here, but I think it's a good overview to show you how we can really dive in to a granular level and show you where you can make up money, where you're lacking money, and how you can improve your overall efficiency.
All right, are we ready to move into questions?
Yes.
All right, awesome. So we had a few that came in. First question that we have is, what kinds of reports can I pull for projects?
Yeah, definitely. So one of the reports that I kind of touched on there is to show you as you're breaking down those projects in the different categories, whether it's the cable and wiring, the commercial plugs, the access panel, where am I at? Where are my margins at over the course of a year or the course of 6 months, just to show me where I'm most efficient with my projects and where I can make up some time and money as well. In addition to that, we have over 70 automatically generated reports. So there's a lot of them. But of course, we have WIP reports. We have cost to complete reports. So, hey, for the rest of this year, where are we at? What's our cost to complete? We also have individualized reports. So you can look at your employees' efficiency. Where's their production at? A number of different reports, and a lot of those will be displayed on our website as well.
Gotcha, great. So another question that came through is, how do you train technicians to use your software?
So the technicians in the field, we have a mobile application for them. A little more of the training will be happening inside the office with the office license that I was just showing you. The mobile application is a little bit more easy for them. It's a clock on, clock off, or monitoring where they're at. They can add inventory, they can add materials, but their training session for the technicians will only be 4 to 5 hours, and that can be remote. But the implementation process for simPRO in general, depending on your business, is about 5 to 6 days. And that will include everything from system setup to making sure all the bells and whistles and all your different notifications are turned on, any of those task templates, getting those projects ready for you, getting your customers loaded in. We have a integration with QuickBooks, so making sure that is going strong on there. And then the rest of that training, so the following 4 days, will be basically a scheduled navigation and user training. So people in the office, people in the field, making sure they know how to handle projects, service, maintenance, just knowing how they know how to navigate through the system. And then we also have, after that, you'll have your own account manager. We have technical support hotlines. So we'll have you covered for any other questions after the implementation. But we take a lot of pride in the implementation. We think good information in, good information out, right? We don't want to just hand you this software that can, change your business for the rest of its future, and then just be like, good luck in setting it up. So we want to send an implementation consultant out there and make sure you guys are prepared and you know what you're doing.
Great. All right, another question that we have is, can you talk more about job templates? I have a lot of jobs that are the same over and over for different customers.
Yep. So those templates, like that job I was showing you there, that project job, you can basically save that job as a template, right? A shell. So once you make it one time, then you can go in the future and say, you know what, this job's very similar. Let's grab that job and then edit some of the details, right? So we don't need this part, or instead of 5 of this particular item, we need 10. So instead of making a job from scratch, a project job, which takes a lot of time, you can have that general template or many different templates for different jobs and just adjust from there, which can save a lot of time on the back end.
Great. Another question is, let me pull it up. Is invoicing and payment to invoice done in simPRO?
Is invoicing in what?
Payment to invoice done in simPRO.
So
like payments and invoicing.
So I think, are you talking about credit card processing on there then, I'm guessing?
That's what I'm guessing.
Processing.
Maybe they could clarify more. But the question as it's written is invoicing and payment to invoice done in simPRO. So I'm guessing they're talking about processing.
Processing, yeah. So the invoicing is done inside of simPRO. We do have integrated partners such as Square Payments, and we actually are in the process of acquiring Stripe as well. That will be able to process those payments all within simPRO with the integration. But it is not a native function of simPRO. Now, if you have QuickBooks Online, we do integrate with QuickBooks Online as well. So if you're processing payments through QuickBooks Online, that is a back and forth communication that will basically serve as that function as well.
Great. And then there's another question. How do you apply customer payment to a customer's invoice?
Yeah, so it'd be through one of those channels as well.
Okay.
So either using Square Payments, using Stripe in the future. Like I said, it's not something that we have integrated yet, but it is coming along. Or if that payment is being applied through QuickBooks Online, it'll talk back and forth with our integration link.
Awesome. All right, and then we have another question here. Let me pull it up. What are my techs able to see in the mobile version?
Yep, so the technicians are able to see a lot of things. I guess, a better question is, what do you want them to be able to see? Because they can see a lot, but they can see any task that you assign to them. They can take any pictures. So any pictures, any videos that you need them to take on a job site, and that'll be attached directly to the job. They can add material. They can show which material they've used that you've assigned to the job. They can actually create POs if you give them access to that permission in the field as well. They can have customer sign-offs. For assets like we were talking about, you can have checklists for them. So, hey, when they're checking this access panel, I need you to make sure that you're checking this, and this. And they have to check off on that as well and sign off that they have done so. So pass and failing assets. Another thing that they can check as well, you can do pre-audits and post-audits. So before they start a job, you can have a series of questions for them, maybe just checking different things. So, hey, before you start this job, did you put on a COVID mask? Before you start this job, did you turn off the electricity? And then after the job is done, before they can complete it, hey, did you take a picture like I wanted you to? Did you get the customer to sign off like I wanted you to? Any sort of double checking questions that you want to ask them, you can go ahead and do so in our audit section. So a lot of different capabilities there.
Awesome. All right, we have another question that came through. What about simPRO is better than the competition? There are a lot of options out there.
Yeah, excellent question. There's obviously a lot of things. I'd like to sit here and talk about it all day, and we can have a meeting with you one-on-one, I'm sure. But I think what we do a lot better than the competition is we're able to really give you live traction on projects where you're at. But in addition to that, we can handle all your service work. We can handle all of your maintenance work and assets, as I showed you. We can handle invoicing. There are a lot of companies that do projects really well. There are a lot of companies that do service really well. And there are a lot that do assets really well. But we're able to wrap up all of those kind of 4 components into one, making it all in one platform. Therefore, you're not just doing service work on House Call Pro or something like that, but then you're doing invoicing out of this platform, you're doing customer management out of this platform, you're doing estimating out of this platform. It's all there inside of simPRO, all the estimating, all the different facets and levels of a job, even that job for that mobile application for that technician, we have the mobile app as well. So, we really cover it all. And then of course we have GPS tracking. We have something, what we call maintenance planner. So any sort of maintenance work that you guys are doing, which I showed you in the assets, we're alerting you saying, hey, your maintenance job for that access panel is due in the next month. Make sure you schedule this now. Make sure you get this on the calendar. So really helping you not fall through the cracks.
Great. All right, let me see if we have any more questions that come through. So far, that is all of them. So we do have a little bit more time. I'll leave it up to you, Christopher, if you'd like us to wait, last call for questions, or if you feel like you've covered everything, we can close it out now.
Yeah, we can give them another 10 seconds here and see if anyone else has anything that they're thinking about.
Yeah. All right, last call for questions with our simPRO expert. All right. Seems like you went over everything pretty well in your presentation. Thanks everyone for attending today. If you do have any more questions or things that you'd like to discuss, feel free to reach out to Christopher. Do you have some contact information that you'd like to provide for our guests so they know how to reach you or professionals at simPRO for more info?
Yeah, I believe we have our information on the website, and I believe we will be contacting everyone that was on this Zoom webinar. So you'll be looking out for a call from us and an email from us as well. So
perfect. All right. Well, thanks everyone, and have a great rest of your day.
thank you, everybody.